This is an election year. I did run on some key issues that I had identified, or that in talking with members of our community they had identified, and I think that we've made progress on some of those. One of those issues was crime in our community. As Chief Meeker has reported, the police force was very active in 2008. They answered a lot of calls, they arrested a lot of people, they connected crimes that were committed with criminals, and closed a lot of files. So that was very good. They worked very hard. The council had a very serious conversation with the chief about what was going on in our community. And I don't know how many of you remember June of 2007. We had a gang fight on Lenox Avenue. And that was one thing that really prompted me to run for mayor, because I thought, with my background as a criminal defense lawyer, I had to make sure I put the defense lawyer in. I know something about the people who thumb their nose at our rules in our society. Well, we talked with the chief, and we asked him, Chief, do you need more police officers? And I don't mean to speak for the chief, but if I misquote him, he can certainly remind us of what he said. He said no, but what he did want to do was to have authority from the council to use overtime in a way that really hadn't been done in Oneida, where he would have some officers come in on overtime and in a very targeted way deploy them, either in a particular area or trying to do a particular thing, looking for particular types of offenses. Our police officers spend a tremendous amount of time answering calls that don't lead to any prosecution. You don't know until the police officer has gone and checked it out what the situation is. But, I mean, I got into a situation last summer where somebody called up and complained to me relating to how the police officers had dealt with cats over the weekend. And so I looked into a little bit, and I found out that our police officers were getting phone calls regarding cats. So the chief and I talked a little bit about it, and I think that they worked out a protocol where the cat calls will be referred to the community services officer when he comes in on Monday, and the police officers will be able to focus on serious potential issues. But that's, I mean, to some extent, our police force has been used as, I'm going to say, nannies or babysitters. Anything that happens, people call the police. They think that the police are going to come and solve their problem. Chief, am I, or Lieutenant, am I mischaracterizing the situation?
There'll be a lot of calls for tactics.
So anyhow, so our regular shift is handling those things. And some of those are, I mean, many of the calls they get are serious, but some of them aren't. So we've got, the regular shift is dealing with the normal routine things, and we'll have two guys, could be in plain clothes, could be on bicycles, could be on, you know, they could be doing vehicle and traffic enforcement, they could be doing specifically noise enforcement, and, you know, they worked hard on targeted times, a lot of Fridays and Saturday nights, for example, and they arrested a lot of people. And the message got out that the city was serious about this stuff. A good friend of mine had a problem with noise. The neighbor was just blasting the stereo outside. He went over and talked nicely to him at 11, and the guy told him to do something that I can't repeat in polite company. You know, an hour or two later, the guy goes over and, you know, asks him again, and the guy, you know, tells him to do something that's not anatomically possible. So my friend pulls out his cell phone and starts dialing 911. And the guy said, "What are you doing?" "I'm going to call the police." The guy shut down the party, turned off the stereo, because he knew if the police came, he was going to get arrested. Now, these are some of these are quality of life things, but one of the things that happens every time this is done, when you deal with these things and you arrest people, you find people who have warrants out on them. You find people who have illegal drugs. And last year, I don't remember the number of how many illegal weapons were confiscated, but there were some. And this is right here in little old Oneida. So a lot of time and effort was put on that. The police department did a lot of work on it. All of the common council, and the mayor, backed our police department, and the word got out. Is there still work to be done? Yes, there is, but I think they did a great job. A second issue that I ran on was the rule of law. I am a lawyer. I'm proud to be a lawyer. I have two of my colleagues here. There was a great quote in the American Bar Association magazine from the British 18th century political philosopher Edmund Burke. He noted that the legal profession renders its practitioners acute, inquisitive, dexterous, prompt in attack, ready in defense, full of resources. No other profession is more closely connected with actual life than the law. It concerns the highest of all temporal interests of man. Property, reputation, the peace of all families, the arbitrations and peace of nations, liberty, life even, and the very foundations of society. The very foundations of society. There's a whole bunch of things in New York State law that the city of Oneida is doing a better job complying with than it did in the past. One of those is, again, it could be coffee time, Article 8, Section 1 of the New York State Constitution that says you can't take public property or resources and give it or lend it to individuals. Now, the DPW can't come and fix my driveway using blacktop that the city bought and paid for. That's pretty obvious. But there's a whole lot of other things where that provision in the state constitution is implicated. Whether it's giving the keys to the rec department van to somebody to use on a children's program over the weekend, where that's a private children's program, the driver of the van might or might not be covered by the city's insurance program. We don't do that anymore, for example. Rule of law. We met with the housing code, we met with the board, the council and I met with all the code enforcers and the department heads who are responsible for those activities, and we told them, go out and enforce the codes, do the inspections. And if you are writing up people, if you have to give a vacate order for an apartment house because it's unsafe, you give the vacate order. Well, the first vacate order they gave, within hours, I get a phone call from the lawyer for the landlord. You can't do this, and what we've done in the past is this, and we've always had time, and blah, blah, blah. Well, they had 90 days to deal with the problem. So I just said, no, we're not going, either they vacate it or they fix it. Second landlord, same lawyer, out of the city lawyer, same thing happens. Calls me up, no, this is the way it's going to be. Well, in this one, this was the building across from City Hall where the sprinkler system had been disconnected 20 years ago. And it was missed in the one housing code inspection that was done in 2002, they missed the fact it had been disconnected. For 20 years, this thing had been in gross violation of the state fire code and the city's housing code. So the guy was told, look, you got option A, B, and C to fix this, or it has to be vacated. Whine, cry, carry on, bring his lawyer in, told flat out, right, no. Well, he finally got it fixed. It was reported in the paper. It was talked about in the community. Guess what? I don't think we've had to vacate any other buildings since then. The landlords, I think, got the message that we were serious about it. And that protects people's lives.